Hi, today I want to talk a little bit about Capcom. Capcom is, as far as I'm concerned, the single worst game company in the history of video games, ever in the history of the industry. I know a lot of people like to shit on EA and Activision, say they're evil and stuff, and they are to an extent, certainly EA, but they're nothing compared to Capcom. Capcom is so unbelievably despicable and evil and unethical and anti-consumer, anti-customer. It amazes me that they're still in business. I don't think they're going to be in business for much longer. I'm sure it'll be gone within the next 5 years, certainly, because they're bleeding out slowly now, and I'm sure that they're going to be dead soon. And I definitely look forward to them dying, and I hope that it comes sooner rather than later. But right now they're still around, and right now they're still fucking people over. I mean, Street Fighter X Tekken, this has been beaten to death, but I'll just say a little thing about it. On disc DLC, alright, so I pay $60 for a game, right? And I get a disc. I get $60. I get a game disc for my $60. And I want to play that game, and I want to have access to the content on that disc. I do not have access to all the content on the disc that I paid for. And usually this is the point where somebody says, "Oh, you're entitled. Why do you feel like you have access to all the content on the disc you paid for? You're entitled." Well, you know what? You know what? I am entitled. I am entitled. I admit it. I am entitled. I am entitled to a quality product. I am entitled to all of the content on the disc that I paid $60 for. If I already paid $60 for something, for a disc, I am entitled to all of the content on that disc at no extra charge. That content, everything on that disc, belongs to me. I bought the disc, I bought everything on the disc. That shit belongs to me. You can't charge me extra for it. I am entitled to that content. Yes, I am entitled. I'm entitled to the content that I already paid for. Yes, I am. Shove that up your ass, Colin Moriarty. Fucking taking up the ass from EA all day. Alright, but we have to move on to other things that Capcom sucks about. The new Devil May Cry. Uh, yeah, the new Devil May Cry, it's complete shit. My god, what have they done to Dante? Jesus Christ. I mean, they could not have raped his character any harder. Who thought it was a good idea to give Devil May Cry to Ninja Theory? Who thought that was a good idea? I mean, first of all, okay, it's a Japanese action game, Japanese style action game, the precursor to games like Ninja Gaiden and Bayonetta. Bayonetta is actually by the creator of the original Devil May Cry. It's kind of the first. The original Devil May Cry was like the first modern character action game. It's a very Japanese style of game. I'm not saying that a Western studio couldn't have done it. I'm not saying that a Western developer can't do a good character action game. I'm just saying that they shouldn't be doing Devil May Cry. They should do their own new IP. Ninja Theory should be doing its own new IP, and since it's Ninja Theory, that would probably be shit too. But all these Western developers should be making developers shouldn't be making Japanese games. Capcom keeps farming out there. Now you have Lost Planet 3 going to this shithole company called Spark that didn't make a single good game, and they made some really bad games. I don't know. They're farming out these big names now, Capcom. They're farming out all these other big names to these really shitty Western developers. I think what's going on here is that Capcom realizes that the Japanese game industry is dead, and so they're trying to make their games more Western and appeal to more of a Western audience. They're relying on the Western audience now because the Japanese audience doesn't buy games anymore. So in an attempt to westernize their games, they're giving their games to Western developers in hopes that it'll appear more to, you guessed it, Westerners. Um, Now, right now, first of all, if you're going to give your one of your flagship IPs to some new developer, can you make a good developer? Ninja Theory? Are you serious? Konami knew what was going on. Konami knows its shit. When they were making a character action game like Devil May Cry, they knew to give it to Platinum Games. They understood that Platinum Games was good at that. They understood that they had the creator of the original Devil May Cry and the guy who created Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. They understood that they were the people to go to for character action games. Ninja Theory made Heavenly Sword and Enslaved. They have not made good character action games, or really true Devil May Cry style games at all. Really, Heavenly Sword is more of a God of War kind of thing, and Enslaved is more of taking a big bloody painful shit simulator because it's really bad. But yeah, Ninja Theory, not a good developer. I'm not sure why they're giving one of the best game series of all time to fucking Ninja Theory. I don't know whose decision that was to give Devil May Cry to Ninja Theory, but he really, really needs to be fired. I mean, like, immediately escorted off the premises. But don't even give him like a 2 weeks notice. Just get him out of the building. Because every second that the people who decide to give Devil May Cry Ninja Theory are present on Capcom property, they are damaging that studio. Whoever it is that decided to give that series to Ninja Theory, and whoever it is that decided that it was okay to do to Dante what they've done to Dante, needs to be taken out behind the building and shot. I'm serious. He needs to be removed immediately. Every second that he breathes air is harmful to this company. It's harmful. Every second that he breathes is harmful to people everywhere. Every second that he breathes, more gamers suffer everywhere. He needs to be gotten rid of him. He needs to be gotten rid of immediately, because every second that he is working in the video game industry, he is harming it. I am sure. What else is Capcom that's been bothered? So yeah, New Devil May Cry is total shit. Let's see what else we got. Oh, Resident Evil. I was pretty excited when they announced Resident Evil 6, and then I saw the trailers, and then suddenly I wasn't so excited anymore, because it's gone full Gears of War on us. It's not a horror game anymore, it's a shooter. Resident Evil 6, I mean, this transformation has been going on since 4, and 4 was a good game, but it was the beginning of the end for the series, and it was a rebirth for the series, and at the same time was the beginning of the end for the series, because it totally reinvented the series and made it, improved it in so many ways, and like the controls and the camera and all that, and not having to find those fucking ribbons just to save your damn game. And it had some really great mechanics and stuff. And Resident Evil 4 did a lot of things really right, and did a lot of things that really were beneficial to the Resident Evil series. But it was also the beginning of the end, because it was the beginning of them going down this path that has led to Resident Evil 6, that they've been going down through Resident Evil 5, and now are continuing to go down through Resident Evil 6, which is the path to just being a generic third-person shooter. Resident Evil 6 is not a horror game. It's a third-person shooter. There is cover-based shooting. Because we don't have enough cover-based shooters, right? I mean, come on, how many games... I mean, we don't have enough games where you're hiding behind a chest-high wall with a gun in the middle of a shootout where enemies shooting at you. Oh, the zombies have guns now. Oh, that's a good idea, Capcom. Give the zombies guns. It wasn't generic enough yet. We need to give the enemies guns now. Yeah, we don't have enough games where you're hiding behind a little wall as an enemy shooting you. We don't have enough cover-based shooters. We don't have enough of those. We need more of those. We're not yet completely oversaturated with those yet. Survival horror games, on the other hand, we have plenty of those. Oh my god. We're up to our ankles in survival horror games. Look at all the survival horror games that have come out in the last few years. There's so many of them to choose from. But shooters, we hardly ever get to play shooters. It's not like we get another 5 shooters every month. We need more of those. Come on, where are we going to get our shooter fix? They don't make enough shooters these days. Let's make Resident Evil a shooter. We don't need to make a survival horror Resident Evil. Let's make a shooter Resident Evil. Why make a Resident Evil that plays like Resident Evil when we can make a Resident Evil that plays like fucking Gears of War? Because there's not enough games that play like Gears of War these days, right? There aren't enough fucking shooters these days, right? There aren't enough cover-based shooters these days, right? We need a fucking another one. So yeah, Resident Evil 6 has gone full third-person shooter on us. That series is basically dead too now. It's not Resident Evil anymore. It might be a good third-person shooter. I'm not saying it won't be a good third-person shooter. But it definitely won't be a good Resident Evil game, because it's not Resident Evil, because Resident Evil isn't a third-person shooter. And that's what that game is. On the other hand, it has Leon Kennedy in it, and he's pretty fucking awesome. So maybe he can carry the game, but probably not, because that gameplay looks just Gears of War, bland, generic, garbage, third-person shooting. Who gives a fuck? Also, the co-op is back. Ugh. The quote-unquote best part of Resident Evil 5 is back. Whoop-de-fucking-do. That's a reason to not play this game right there. Alright, I'm running out of time here, so let me see what else I hate about Capcom. So I talked about Ace Attorney. Did I talk about Ace Attorney? They're not localizing Ace Attorney. Why aren't they localizing Ace Attorney? I'm not sure if I talked about this yet. They need to localize Ace Attorney. Can't believe they aren't localizing Ace Attorney. Anyway, what else? Did I mention Ace Attorney? Was I talking about Ace Attorney before? Alright. Ace Attorney is one of my favorite series of all time. They're not localizing anymore. They're not localizing Ace Attorney anymore. Why? Why? You did the first 5. Why are you stopping now? Now we've come to love the characters and got all caught up in it and know who Miles Edgeworth is and want to see more of him. Now we're never going to get him again. Or Phoenix or any of these other guys because the series isn't being localized anymore. Why? Why isn't this series being localized anymore? They came straight out and said, we are not localizing Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Things don't look good for Gyakuten Saiban 5 and any future Ace Attorney games. Why aren't they localizing it? Because they'd rather spend their money on fucking third-person shooter Resident Evil, and on God of War ripoff that's an entire game of QuickTime events, and on Skyrim clone. They'd rather spend their games on Skyrim clone and QuickTime events to game and turning Resident Evil 6 into a shooter than on games people actually want, like a Resident Evil 6 that plays like a survival horror game, or a Devil May Cry that isn't total shit, or Mega Man Legends 3, or a localized Ace Attorney. They don't care about what people want. All they care about is money. They're more interested in pleasing the stockholders than they are in pleasing their customers, and that's why this company is shit these days, and that's why they can't die soon enough. Fuck you, Capcom. I wanted Ace Attorney and Mega Man Legends. Go to hell.